Woo!
Go!
Hey, Blasphemers, hang tight. We have TJump as a guest, and we're about to start the show right now. Hey, Blasphemers, welcome to Simple Blasphemy, where we have the best times with the worst topics.
We're three friends that discuss everything and nothing, from wacky headlines to games and trivia. All subjects bizarre and risque are on the table.
Our weekly guests range from friends, musicians, and artists to professionals in a variety of industries.
We go live on Facebook and YouTube every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Want to support the show? Join our Patreon. You can find it and more at www.simpleblasphemy.com.
So grab a drink and join in!
It's too late now. This is Simple Blasphemy.
All right. Welcome to this Simple Blasphemy podcast, all you blasphemers out there. My name is Zach Ward, and I have with me always Andy's.
The French champagne.
And also we have Zach Green.
Is it live or
Live.
is it Memorex?
Yeah.
That's funny.
There you go. Welcome.
All the info about the show can be found at simpleblasphemy.com. And if you are new here, you can click that like, share, subscribe button, and you receive 5 years. Good luck. Use it. We paid for it. As mentioned this week, our special guest is TJump. Hey, Tom, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Good. Pleasure to meet you.
Damn, your mic is silky smooth. You just drizzled caramel all over the fucking place.
So
That's the best, mic position, too.
Oh, that's what gets you. You get the fucking crescent rolls in the background and the fucking silky ass mic.
now, see, I was hoping that if Tom gets enough Patreons out there that he can actually get a second one and make it stereo. You know what I mean? So if you're really going like this,
So he could do the mockingbird thing by himself.
yeah. Mock. All right. So to get to know Tom better, we're going to spit 4 questions at him, and so let's just have some fun. Here we go. Tom, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Invincibility. I'm the juggernaut, bitch.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what can you apply this invincibility in a good way? Like what?
No, what? You're just ruining all my fun. Why would you do
Okay.
that?
All right. Fine. I won't rationalize it. Okay.
Okay.
Damn.
What age do you consider old?
2.
Old enough. You're out of here, fucker.
Okay. Let's see here. I want to skip that one and do Tom, you in all of your debates, you're known to have a pretty calm demeanor, just cool as a cat, doing your thing. So I think what people would like to know is what is one thing that makes you lose your temper?
Cucumbers.
Cucumbers.
The only thing cooler than he is.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Jesus.
What?
And
That
lastly,
and repeating myself. Hate repeating myself. That pisses me off.
Oh, I'm sorry. What'd you just say?
what was that?
I'm gonna kill you.
Well, we're down to one host on the Simple Blasphemy podcast. His name is Zach Green, and he is full
Done.
of words.
Oh, shit.
Last question on this one. What is the worst job you've ever had? Is there such
Game tester for Activision.
For all of you that weren't in the pre-show, wait a minute.
Yeah, and in case people don't even know what game testers are, what part of that might be the worst version, or not worst version, but worst part?
Well, you got 2 choices. You got Activision or Electronic Arts, and both of them suck pretty bad from what I understand.
Yeah, definitely. They're not as bad as the Japanese companies, though. Those are significantly worse.
Konami's going to kick your ass.
Definitely. Nintendo is the worst by far. But yeah, it's
Which is-
essentially
Awesome, because their shit's always 100% perfect because of the poor people whose backs have been broken under Mario's stomping feet.
exactly. It's corporate enslavement where they make you stand there and take a character and smash it up against every pixel of every wall in every map
Oh, it's like
for
fucking
8
blood
hours a day.
diamonds.
The shitty part with Nintendo is that it was always Luigi. It didn't make a difference what the character model was. It always looked like Luigi.
What was the? Can you imagine? Like, I remember my very first Nintendo came with the game. I think it was Hyrule, or it was the precursor to Zelda, Highlight, or something like that. Where
No. It wasn't Zelda, but yes.
no, what was that called?
Hydlide.
Something like that. I would kill myself if I had to like try to make every pixel or go through every. That was the worst game I've ever seen Nintendo come out with. I
Yeah,
can
it was
recall.
T&E. I can't remember the some kind of entertainment company in 1984.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, so before we get into Tom, we like to give a shout out to the top 5 countries that are audio only. Number 1 coming in again at 87.57%. Guess
Surprising.
who? India.
It's India.
Again. Thank you to everybody out there. United States, Canada, Germany, and Belgium. Runner-ups. And then we have, lastly, our shout out from Tanner Wirtz.
Squirts.
Hey guys, Tanner here. I want to give a big shout out to preachers who eat pussy, because who in their right mind would deny one of God's greatest gifts?
Okay.
Oh,
my god.
Preachers
okay.
eating pussies? I mean, what?
Pixies. I'm
So
pretty sure he said
wouldn't it be-
pixies.
Would it be like fucking penises?
I'm pretty sure he said pixies. All right. So here we go.
Grade school penises?
Oh,
Anybody?
no.
Okay.
Just move them around. Everything will be fine.
Yeah. We can, yeah. Cop unions and everything. Tom, it's your turn. You are on so many debate stages, not only on your own, on your YouTube channel, which can be found at youtube.com/TJump. If you're looking at it, you can find it. But what's your backstory? That's what we're here to find out. First of all, how did you start that? Were you a Christian before becoming an atheist and a debater?
Yeah, I was Christian until late high school. I was brought up in a very religious family. My mom is super religious still. Went to Catholic school, grade school, Catholic school, high school. They had mass every Wednesday during school, in addition
You
to
were
the
amongst like people.
Wow.
Yep, and it was literal torture also, because they had these like red benches, like the basketball benches for high school, and you had to sit there for 2 hours while listening to them, and you had like to stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. It was
yeah.
it was miserable.
Okay, so you go through high school, you're learning Catholicism, you're doing the extra Bible. Is that like, the Bible plus 4 or whatever, the Apocrypha, right? How many books are in that? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I was asleep during my classes, so I didn't learn.
Right. Amen.
So you're fresh out of high school. What did TJump do out of high school?
Sat at home, played video games all day
Nice.
Okay.
for about
All
2
right.
years.
I was fearing he was going to say cucumbers for a second, but not that way. Okay, so you're getting into video games. You got to do some behind the scenes, trying to break games and help developers. I'm assuming make edits to their games to make them better.
Bug testing, play testing.
Yeah. So what happened between high school time and Catholicism that made you guess or question what you were raised, I guess would be the right way.
Well, it was actually because I was diagnosed with major depression. I've had it since I was a kid, like 5,
Okay.
and I was depressed my entire life. And I prayed every day, morning and night, for the magical sky daddy who apparently loved me more than anything to help me. And after years and years and years of nothing and just more pain, I kind of stopped being able to believe at all. And I just lost my faith sometime at the end of high school and just stopped thinking about it completely for the next like 6 years or so.
Okay. And so everybody's like deconversion stories a little different, obviously. A lot of people, I didn't have any type of emotional thing, or I didn't get upset at my parents or whatever you want to call it, that some people do. They feel like they were completely lied to. Did you experience any of that, or did you just kind of work it mentally out?
I mean, I didn't really have any close relationships, part of the depression thing. I was completely alone. So I never talked to my parents or family or anything like that. So I didn't really have much to be angry with them about, because they weren't really a part of my life for the most part, other than providing food. So it was traumatizing in the sense that I had hope in this being was like the only hope I had in life, and losing that was very painful in many ways. But other than that, there wasn't any social connections that changed for me.
Okay. I mean, did you ever try to research other religions, like at that time, to thinking, well, maybe I'm not praying to the right sky god, and I got
Sky
well,
Daddy.
daddy, whatever. It's like a sugar daddy, but
Not really, because the whole point was just to try and escape my depression. So if there was one, it helped. I would have prayed to it, but I really didn't. I wasn't looking for a god. I was looking for a rescuing from my pain more than anything. I didn't really care about the god.
Remediation.
well, that's okay. All right. On that subject, if you were at a crossroads where the praying portion didn't work and you're walking away from religion, what was it specifically just because things weren't granted, or from prayer, or was there some outside like influence? Like, for instance, for me, like my dip out of Christianity was actually listening to Penn Teller and hearing, I've never heard somebody's very blunt side of his view of gods and stuff like that. Did you at all have any of that kind of influence?
Not until later. So that didn't affect my transition out of Christianity. Again, my whole transition was just, I was depressed. God didn't do anything to help. I can't believe in a God anymore. And then about 6 years later, after I became non-religious, I started to watch Christopher Hitchens, Harris Dawkins Dennett, those guys, their debates and stuff. And that's when I started to get into the atheism philosophy, and when I started to identify as an atheist.
Okay. And on that, because I kind of did roughly the same thing, that's like for us, like first version, atheist celebrities, if you will, or respected people. Sometimes not the greatest, a little rough around the edges. The delivery was more shocking. Like Hitchens certainly was a shocking, he verbalized himself very well, like a gentleman. Whereas like the new up and coming people, kind of, there's no mold for it, of course, but kind of gotten away, it seems, from that harshness. Was there something that you preferred other than others? I mean, you have all of those horsemen or whatever, apocalypse grandfathers or whatever you want to call them.
The four horsemen of the new atheism.
But they were all completely, totally different. I mean, their approach. Was there one that you gravitated towards more or liked a little more?
Well, I'd say there was certain things I learned from each of them. Like, for example, Hitchens, his articulation and his way he phrased his arguments, like you mentioned, was probably the best of all of them. The way he compelled people to listen to his points and made God look ridiculous by comparison. He was definitely by far the best at that. And that was something I revered him for. Sam Harris had really great philosophical arguments. I think of the best of those four, especially as ones concerning free will. So I definitely learned from him in that. And his composure in debates was something I admired in a way, because he was very deliberate and didn't seem to be emotionally affected very much by his interlocutors interrupting him and screaming at him. So I learned that from him. Richard Dawkins was great at science. He's a extremely good, extremely knowledgeable biologist, and looking at his work and his documentaries and books and papers on that field, I think was extremely important in getting a introduction into the academic hard sciences. And then Dan Dennett is, of course, a rather renowned philosopher. So he was an introductory voice into that field of the more soft sciences, the social sciences.
Is there one person that you'd love to meet and shake their hand? Is there anything like that, or that you respect the most at all?
I'm not sure. I mean, I respect their ideas more than like their individuals. So I'd love to talk with them about their ideas more than shake their hand for sure.
All of them, I would assume.
Yeah,
At least they're living.
definitely.
I want to meet Douglas Adams, even though he's dead.
It'd be a little weird at this point.
Well, no, you know what? If Douglas Adams, a zombie, as his decaying form came to my door, I'd still answer the door and still have questions.
It's still more probable than. Anyway,
Jesus Christ, Zach.
what? Hey,
Not
this
me.
is the. What are you talking about? Come on now. So you dove into the Four Horsemen. I'm assuming you saw the video of all four of them having a round table. So that was about 2010, right? Somewhere in that vicinity. So from that time up until this point, you've got to dive into the modern day debates and things like that. And in case people haven't seen Tom, this is a little side clip of what you will typically see with James, the moderator, and that lady is
Why is that person
insane.
crying or on the verge of crying?
She's going to hurt you.
Tom is probably not going to say, but there was one where I think she started falling asleep or something like that. And then she went to the store during a debate, went to a store and like got something and came back. It was embarrassing. Well, when you're watching something and you're like, well, hey, there's 2 against 2. And like the one person just leaves, it's rude. You know what I mean? It was a very tough, I guess. So having said that, modern day debates, did you debate before this modern day start, or did you start doing it more after?
I did mostly conversations before. Like on my channel, I don't normally do debates. I normally just do conversations because it's easier. The structure, debates take too much effort to try and give someone X amount of time and then listen to them talk for some rebuttals and all that crap. It's a waste of time. It's better just to do regular conversations. So I didn't do debates until I started doing modern day debates because that's his kind of a thing. But for me, it's more about the conversations, just the back and forth and being able to address their arguments rather than doing actual formal debates.
Okay. And about how long ago was that? I didn't do my homework to find out when the first. And you guys were doing that live too, right? At one point?
Yeah, I think we always do those live. I think
Okay.
We may have done one. Yeah, we've done the first one we did live was in Wisconsin. The second one was in Texas, and we were supposed to do some more, but they all got canceled because of COVID. And I've done a few other live ones for other companies like the Bible and Beer Consortium, and I have another one planned next month in Georgia. And I was supposed to go to Malaysia and do 3 there, but that got canceled because of COVID too. So yeah, we do some live in-person debates. I started doing debates 2 years ago, I think, 1.5 years ago, something like that, with James, back when his channel had 600 subs and mine had 300 subs or something. And we've grown from there. He's up to like 40K now.
Nice.
That's crazy. And a potential car wash is in the works. So if anybody likes the debate stage, modern day debates not only does have obviously atheists and Christians like we're talking, but they also have very many other subjects too. It's not just limited to philosophical, religious type of thing. They do the flat earth. They do Biden versus Trump, pre to the election. They did All Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, I think, debate. So it's actually a really cool channel that I subscribe to because it's has a whole bunch of things I like to listen to aside from me. So you start coming into modern day debates, you start being a staple. How did you become a staple? Whereas I guess they have a couple different groups of people, right, that tend to debate each other. How did you become more involved than, say, other people that kind of came along?
Well, I imagine because I have more spare time than most people, and because on my channel I usually debate professors and philosophers and have a pretty good repertoire on the academic field, James invites me on more, especially for those kinds of debates, since I might be more qualified than some of the other people who he has on regularly. I'm also pretty well established in the Discord community, and so the people there know me. And so if debating someone from that field, like Neff or Praise or the creationists who think the world was created 6,000 years ago. We know each other and we've interacted a lot, and so I'm a easy call to go to those kind of debates.
You're a good hang.
Yeah, nice.
I like going back to that. No matter where you're at in your field, if you are knowledgeable and you're not a complete asshole about it, you're going to go places. You're going to get things. You're going to get gigs, and you're going to have a good time.
So, for the contemporaries at now, Dillahunty, Aaron Raw, and all these guys, is there any, or even Anthony? How do you say his name? Bonamasso?
Magnabosco.
Magnabasso, sorry. Is there anybody that you enjoy their company to talk with?
Well, sort of no. So I was diagnosed with autism, high functioning autism. So I'm not really a fan of talking to people. I've always been really bad at that. I do it for my work, but it's not something I really enjoy. So not exactly. I mean, they're really nice guys. I've met all of them in person, especially in Texas, in Austin. So I don't have any complaints about them, but I'm not a social person. I don't enjoy just hanging out and getting a beer for the most part.
Gotcha. So speaking
We're all
of
on notice right now. By the way.
yeah. So here's a nice picture, and I found this one on one of your pages. Anthony does a street epistemology, is another gentleman that I really respect, and I enjoy learning from him. But more importantly, the gentleman behind you, I noticed, had a little, looks like almost an accident.
Jesus Christ!
Oh no!
You're gonna bring that up?
I started to go through these pictures.
Ain't that a pity?
Trying to did you catch a whiff of this before? Is that bad?
That might be.
That was a bad bad dad joke.
Meanwhile, TJump's like, yeah, that's my uncle.
So
asshole."
if you do if you don't particularly enjoy gravitating towards large groups of social people just hanging out and slinging beers, what attracts you to be on the spotlight in debates or conversations like you have on your YouTube channel?
Money.
Okay. And
I like
I like
money.
money.
okay. God damn it. Your answers are just like, yep.
You're supposed to leave a whole bunch of room for bullshit, and this is the Midwest. God damn it!
Yeah, come on now.
Yeah, I could definitely expand on that. So yeah, I started my YouTube channel specifically just as a way to record conversations I had with professors. So because I was researching philosophy before I started my YouTube channel, and I would call up I started with pastors. I started to call up local pastors to have conversations about the stuff I was learning and say, well, all the stuff in your holy book makes no sense. It's so stupid for reasons X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
And they had no idea how to respond because I was talking about more deep philosophical issues. And so I would try to level up and call local professors from local Christian universities and say, hey, would you mind going out to coffee with me and talk about these issues, blah, blah, blah. And they were gracious enough to go out and be willing to chat with me. But we talked about a lot of issues that I couldn't recall off the top of my head. So I would record them and I'd upload them to my YouTube channel just to watch back. And I got a decent following doing that. So I turned it into a kind of a career, started making money off of it. And it's like, hey, I can do this and make money. So let's do it more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I personally just respect your approach. You're one of my favorite people to watch because the method, the facts, the way you come with your ammunition. It seems like even the last couple months you've perfected this craft even better. The last debate I think I watched was with on Modern Day. Who did you debate your last Modern Day one? Wasn't it
last night was actually the last Modern Debate one, but so it could have been the one with Sybil, I think, that one, or the one with CJ on morality. Those would probably be the two a few weeks ago.
It was deemed the most gentleman conversation between two guys.
Sal Cordova.
That's who it was.
Queensbury rules.
Now, there are certain people that just like Aaron Ra's version of really
screaming, angry, yelling face.
Which I don't understand I don't particularly understand that approach. More so after really getting to street epistemology and kind of going down that road. And he was even on with Anthony in one of his episodes, and he was teaching him. And it's like he did not want to break his mold, his brand, really, kind of a thing. You talk about epistemology. A lot of people don't even know what that is. Can you break down what epistemology
Yeah,
is?
I thought that was the thing that happened during pregnancy or during birth.
Yep, that's the one. He's got it. That's the area I study.
Cucumbers.
Cucumbers.
Right
So-
in between.
So yeah, epistemology is the study of knowledge. Like, how do we ground knowledge? How do we know anything? What is the correct method to gain knowledge in the world? Those are the questions of epistemology. It's what are the foundations of knowing things, and what are reliable methods to know things, and what are unreliable methods to know things.
And how did you fall into that? Because me, it was Anthony and his YouTube channel, but how did you fall into it?
When I was studying philosophy and religion, I was trying to figure out for myself what is the best way to ground knowledge, and I wrote an epistemology. And so that's my first video on my YouTube channel right now, is my epistemology. And the whole point of my debates is essentially to promote that, to show how my epistemology can address questions and debate topics at an academic level. And so it's the whole point of my channel is essentially to promote my epistemology and how it can work even at an academic level. So that's how I got into epistemology. I wrote one.
Nice.
Yeah. And you talk about, at least on your About Us and stuff like that, you have a book that's in the works, or?
Yeah, I have one book with a publisher that's supposed to come out next year. It's going to be on morality. It's a debate between me and somebody else.
Really?
And then I have an epistemology book, but that one's a little more technical, so it was harder to find a publisher for that one until I get more credibility, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So speaking on the things in debates that come up often, one of those I said I was going to, hopefully we can talk about, is arguments, and how, like you're saying, interlockers, and the structure of arguments. I didn't know what any of this stuff was until studying, Matt Dillahunty's, methods for so many years. Can you explain logical fallacies and what those are, and how that, like the interlocker, your syllogism, and all that, were basically the nuts and bolts in debates?
Sure, yeah. Fallacies are essentially failures in reasoning. There's something that you present evidence for, and you think the evidence leads to some conclusion, but it really doesn't lead to the conclusion at all. So, for example, if you said, I think that X is true because Bob said so. Well, why would Bob saying so make it true? It doesn't make any sense. That's an appeal to authority. Just saying Bob said so isn't actually evidence that it is actually true. That's informal fallacy. There are formal fallacies also, which were the premises do not lead to the conclusion, or essentially you can say the grass is wet. When it rains, the grass gets wet, therefore it rained. Well, that doesn't actually follow, because maybe the sprinklers were on. That could also be an explanation of why the grass is wet. So fallacies are essentially just, you take the structure of the argument and it doesn't actually lead to the conclusion. That's a formal fallacy. And an informal fallacy is one where it's more just like Bob said so. Well, it could be the case, but that doesn't really support your conclusion. So fallacies are failures in reasoning where you think something indicates a conclusion, but it has been formally proven to not do that. So we can prove that what your argument just did isn't actually evidence, and we've named it because it's so common in human knowledge that they think it is, but it's not.
So are those then objective then? Because it seems like the fallacies are almost non-negotiable because they've been kind of peer reviewed to some degree, I guess, right? Is that, are they objective then?
Formal fallacies are absolutely objective. We can show, we can prove formally the conclusion does not follow from the premises, so that would not in any way count as evidence. Informal fallacies are debatable. There's some of them can be evidence in certain cases, and some of them aren't evidence. Depends on the field and the usage.
Okay. Green, you look like you might have a question over there sitting.
No, I don't even know where to begin, man. I don't.
No?
Well, why is there so much of the population that just hook onto something and then just believe it to be truth when there's so much logic that argues against it? and then you try to present some logic to them, and then they get angry at you and they call you names and you're the devil and this and that.
Next thing you know, you can't go to Kroger anymore.
Yeah, I can understand there's a couple people here and there, but like, especially in today's society, there seems like such a large part of the world population that's like that. And it just, half the time I'm just gonna keep my fucking mouth shut and go sit in a corner. I mean, why is that? How do we end up in this situation?
Cultural reinforcement. So it's like, if you have something you do and you're really good at it and it gets you success with friends and family and relationships, then if anybody says that that's wrong, you're going to fight against it with every ounce of your being, because it's given you everything you have in life. And that's essentially what causes people to latch on to these kinds of ideas that aren't really very true. Is that this idea has been propagated through society and has a huge cultural influence. And if you adopt this one, then you're a part of the group, and this group has benefits to it. And if you challenge the group and you say that these things are wrong, well, then you get kicked out of the group and you lose all the benefits. And so there's a pragmatic reason why accepting these ideologies, even though they're false, can be actually a good idea in your lifestyle. And that's what keeps them going. The origin of these belief systems were coping mechanisms. Like, when we die, we're gone. So, well, that doesn't feel very good. But what does feel good is thinking that we have an afterlife. So let's believe there's an afterlife. And since that makes people feel better, if you have like two groups of people, one that believes we have an afterlife and one that doesn't, the one that believes we have an afterlife is more likely to risk their lives to save other people, or to risk their lives to go hunting, or to do things that are more risky and get the reward that's associated with that risk. Therefore, those people who have that delusional belief are more likely to survive and thrive in the world. And so evolution has selected those kinds of false ideas because it was beneficial. It made us feel more comfortable, and made it easier for us to take risks, because we thought that, well, if we die, we're going to heaven anyway. So we can do that without too much of a strain. Whereas the people who...
That's it. That's the Catholic thing, is I can do whatever the hell I want. As long as I talk to this dude and I get my shit absolved, it's fine. Everything's good on the other side. So what you're saying, like, is, for me, and this is my own political shit, I'm not trying to bring that into it, but this is how I grok it. If you've got a wife who supports Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump is misogynistic or has proven himself to be such, and that women should technically not, but in supporting their husbands, they are included into a easier lifestyle.
Wrong.
Well, conservatism is a little bit more nuanced than that. So conservatism versus liberalism is, the foundation for conservatism is the idea that if a society has a certain amount of resources, and if we overextend those resources, the society will collapse. So, and that's a completely reasonable thing. We've seen that happen through lots of times in society. And so most people, genetically, there's been shown that in our brains, if we have certain kinds of genes, we have more tendency to be conservative versus a more tendency to be liberal. And the difference between these two is that the liberals think that we have excess resources and we should divide those resources to help as many people as possible. And the conservatives think, no, we shouldn't divide those resources because we don't have enough to risk in the society. So conservatism does have a lot of grounds to it that are reasonable. And then people latch onto those and justify them based off of biases. So, for example, if there's an ideology that reasonably says we should not be dividing resources to help people, well, if you're a racist and you think this group should not be helped, well, then you're going to go with the one that says we shouldn't be dividing resources because that group says we shouldn't give resources to this group. Mm-hmm. So there's lots and lots of reasons that could justify why you would be a conservative. Now, definitely the group think and the cultural thing is definitely a huge part of it. That's why most conservatives live in one area of the country in the South, and most liberals live in another area in New York and Minnesota and California. So definitely the group think is a big part of it, but also because there are these underlying issues that are actually reasonable if you understand the ideology. There are some other reasons why it's such a prevalent ideology in America.
That was probably the best explanation I've ever heard about the two, and at least a different version of it from my standpoint. I think that when going back to even Zach's previous question too, is I think that a lot of people just are not comfortable with the phrase "I don't know," and it's a difficult pill to swallow. But on the same token, I think that the gentleman or lady, good, aka good person's thing should be simply is I don't know, rather than stating claims that just are ludicrous. Andy, did you have something else that you wanted to ask or go down? What was it?
Well, I did my little brief dive on
Okay.
TJump earlier, and he had done some discussions on simulation hypothesis, basically that the Matrix is real. And I'm a firm believer in this. I think that there should be there's no reasonable explanation otherwise. And I wanted to know what side of the fence you stood on it. Do you think it is a thing or it is not a thing?
Not a thing. I think it's highly unlikely that we are in a simulation. And the reason for that is because of moral progress. Like if we look farther back in time, like when slavery was legal, when there weren't women's rights, when there weren't gay rights, as we have less resources as a society, then we are less likely to share those resources with groups that we deem to be less productive. And as we have more resources, then we're more likely to share those resources to support other people. And because of this pattern, when we have enough resources to build an entire universe out of computer code, it's most likely the case that when we do that, we're going to see a world like this one is horribly immoral, and it would be illegal for anyone to make a universe like this one, and they would be locked up for essentially forever because it would be just so evil to do so. So if we ever get to the technological point where we can make universes like the Nick Bostrom simulation hypothesis, it's highly unlikely we'll have a universe like this one. They'll most likely be pretty good for the most part. The way I like to describe it is there would be a world where it would be physically impossible to force anyone to do anything they don't consent to doing. That would be like a requirement in any of these universes to make them moral universes. And it would be illegal to make any universes where the kid could play God and just destroy people's lives like they're ants, because we would have empathy for those beings. If we have enough resources to create universes, well, then it's not permissible to just destroy all of the creatures in them with cancer and bone disease and all kinds of things that make their lives miserable. So a world like this one seems highly unlikely to be possible in a world when we can make universes, because it would just be so immoral and it would be seen so disgusting by the society that it would be outlawed. So I don't think this world is a simulation. It seems far more likely that it's probably real in some sense.
But what happens if somebody,
Here
an
we go.
architect, just got really bored with everything and played the game to death, and then all of a sudden just wanted to play a game or create a simulation or a universe and just fuck it up in the worst possible ways just for personal entertainment?
Well, they could totally do that. They just have to fill it with artificial intelligences that have no consciousness. So you can make a computer with like Call of Duty or whatever and just mass murder everybody you want, because none of them are conscious. But if you put in conscious beings, that would be not possible. That would be the case that would make it illegal, and that would make it a crime.
I guess the construct in which this is being put in is a little linear, because you take the idea that this is humankind that has made this up. We're basing it on being who we are because this is all we know is who we are.
One narrative.
We're not aware of a higher intelligence entity or being of us that is actually founded and actually exists, that may or may not have been the twisted author of this particular world. And then we've got all the different realities that we could be in, the trillions of planets and life-giving bullshit in the universe and all that other crazy shit. There is a very good chance that we might be the product of something, but we're talking like layers and layers and layers deep on something.
Well,
instead of it being like humankind comes up with this awful simulation.
The one thing about what you're saying too, your question, Andy, is there's been so many scientific studies of the brain itself and how doctors can alter your brain, whether it be removal or many different things, that whole, like, for me, that whole Matrix thing seems to start to fall apart because of those studies as well. And they just recently, I can't recall who mentioned it, that you can think something and it prints it on your brain. Like they can literally get a picture of...
yeah, there was a study mentioned in one of Sean Carroll's podcasts by I forget her name, but she was talking about how, I think it was monkeys, they would show a picture to, and then they would kill it and cut its brain open and then use a radiometric piece of paper and put it on the brain after they had injected it with a dye, a radiometric dye. So it would show the image they were thinking about in the visual cortex on the piece of paper.
Yeah.
How does that not prove the Matrix thing though?
Yeah, I think I would agree with you there. Like we could be in the Matrix and the brain is just a product of the Matrix. And so even though it has...
It sounds lame as fuck, but if you watch like that Rick and Morty show, they have the video game where one of the characters goes into it and they live an entire lifetime in somebody else's shoes. And one of them comes out and he's like, he just died of colon cancer. And you come out and there's your high score, even though you've invested your 10 minutes of your life, your DMT trip of this video game, all of a sudden, poof, you're back in your reality. Anything's possible. That's the part that makes me the only part that makes me excited about death is that I'm sure I'm going to get some answer one way or the other. Like right before the light goes out, I know what's going to happen on this side. Like, oh shit, there's nothing. Cool. Done.
Ew.
Or, oh fuck, I woke up and I'm in Major Magics in 1987 and I fell down really hard.
So the other question I wanted to ask you too on the subject of logical fallacies is, what are the common ones that you see people in your debates, even being as specific as, when you're debating Christians, that is the common mess up? What's the few fallacies that people typically trip over that they don't even know it?
Composition division fallacy is probably the most common. So it's life cannot come from non-life, consciousness cannot come from non-consciousness. The idea there is, well, if there was no life before, well, then how could life come about from there being no life before? But that's a really dumb argument, because if you take a bunch of bricks, there's no wall anywhere in the bricks, but if you put the bricks together, poof, you have a wall. So you can't say, well, there was no wall, therefore how could you get a wall from no wall? Well, we do that pretty easily. Just put a bunch of bricks on top of one another. Mm-hmm. So the fact that the whole, the collection, doesn't have some property doesn't mean that none of the parts do. And the fact that none of the parts have a property doesn't mean the whole can't have it. So when you assume that life can't come from non-life, that's I think it's a division fallacy, because composition division, there's two fallacies there. And the same thing with consciousness cannot come from non-consciousness. If you assume that, well, how could non-conscious matter produce a brain? That's impossible, because, well, there's no consciousness to begin with. Well, no, that's not quite how it works. Same thing with the wall. Like, there was originally no sun. The sun did not exist, but if you put enough hydrogen atoms together, poof, you get a sun. Mm-hmm. So you can get these new things that were nothing like the parts by just combining the parts in a certain way. And that's the most common fallacy that is prevalent today in Christians and theists' worldview.
And divine hiddenness, is that usually a fallacy that's ammunition for the atheists?
Well, divine hiddenness is the idea that God hasn't shown himself to all of us. Like, if there was an all-knowing God who wanted to have a personal relationship with everybody, well, he could just zap himself into our minds and we'd know about him. And the fact that he hasn't done that is pretty good evidence that there isn't an all-knowing God, all-knowing, all-powerful God who wants to have a personal relationship. So I don't.
What about all the people that talk about their personal relationship with God? And I'm not necessarily supporting it, but I'm saying that, like, if I talk to somebody in my family and they will espouse the luxury of the Holy Spirit and how it is good to be in his light, and although it's not my thing, I feel good for them that they have that they can, that fire that they can rest by, that's always there for them. Some of us have to work harder to make a flame, and some people got this ever-present glow, something that feels like it has been imbued into their brain, that God's talking to them. What about that?
Well, it definitely has been imbued into their brain by evolution, because that's the same thing I mentioned earlier, that there's this evolutionary advantage to, if you imagine you have this imaginary friend who really loves you and is going to give you an afterlife, well, then it makes it a lot easier to take risks and to believe in things in life.
Give you one up. Yeah.
So there's lots of people all over the world who have those sensations, not just of a god, but of any supernatural things, of ghosts, of spirits, of leprechauns, of all kinds of things all over the world. And that was essentially the foundation of most God beliefs and most supernatural beliefs, is that they have this feeling inside of them that there is this thing watching them, and they think it's a mind, which is another kind of fallacy. It's a type 1 versus type 2 distinction fallacy. It's the hyperactive agency detection system. So, like, if you hear a rustle in the bushes, and like, if you imagine living 10,000 years ago and you hear a rustle in the bushes, if you think it's just the wind, you're like, it's fine, I'll just stay here. and it happens to be a lion, well, you get eaten. You're dead. You're out of the genetic pool. But if you think the rustle in the bushes, that's a lion, I'm going to run away. Even if it was just the wind, you survive and reproduce. So because of that, evolution prioritizes people who think whatever that noise is, it's got to be a mind and it's got to be out to get me. So I got to run away. And so we have this hyperactive agency detection system of anything we see happening. We think it's an agent. We think it's a mind or some kind of intentionality coming to get us, which is why people think volcanoes were evil and tried to kill us, and storms were caused by Mother Nature and all these things. We always thought the natural disasters were caused by a mind, Zeus and lightning, Thor and thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Rampant.
So,
I never met a blind guy and just had the balls to say, "Hey, dude, did it? Did you a lot?"
Show me the crucifix.
One of the things I've always found interesting is the no true Scotsman fallacy, of course, which is fun. And I've always wanted to do the no true Christian fallacy. I think is good to be on its own. What's your thoughts on the Westboro Baptist Church? See, in my thing with them is like they seem to be the only ones that actually take the Bible literally, whereas other people tend to give a lot of hall passes, so to speak.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The moral progress I was mentioning earlier, that has affected Christians just as much as it's affected anybody else. So if you take the Westboro Baptist Church today and you put them at the Catholic Church 300 years ago, they'd all be considered extremely left liberals, hippies, because they're not taking it seriously enough, because the church used to burn people at the stake and to stone people to death as actual doctrine, and had crusades where they'd literally just go massacre people who didn't convert or die, kind of a thing. And not even the Westboro Baptist Church would do those things today. So even they are significantly less Christian than the original Christians were. So the moral progress has affected everybody in society, even them. And they take it a lot closer to what the original doctrine was in the Catholicism than pretty much anybody else does today. But they're still crazy liberal compared to the past Nazi.
So Westboro Baptist Church are a bunch of diet motherfuckers, is what we're talking about.
They're the least diet. There may be a Coke Zero.
Yeah, they're diet Catholicism.
Yeah,
I thought that was Lutherans.
That's way diate.
That's more like
sorry, all four of my Lutheran friends that still talk to me.
No, I had
talk to me after this.
Tom, you might have had this happen to you, like when you talk about studying the Bible and how you come to your conclusions. Often I get asked, well, here, I need you to talk to this guy because like he's my guy and he's gonna like, he's gonna beat you up. So I remember going to this dinner at this guy's house. Like, hey, this is my stepdad. He's a Lutheran pastor. And so you sit down and it's like, well, Zach's an atheist, so go ahead. I'm like, what? All right. And so to start the conversation, I'm like, all right, well, I mean, do you believe the Bible's 100% true? He's like, no. I'm like, cool. All right. I guess there's really nothing to say here. I mean,
sorry to disappoint you. Past the mashed potatoes.
Yeah. Green beans. So having said that, as it relates to, first of all, is there any way that I can be credited for the no chief Christian fallacy? Where do I fill the papers out? Because I feel like that should be a real good one. Anyway, what do you say to when people have all of these different denominations, and then there's 2,000 plus gods that we've had on Earth, at least somewhat documented in some way, shape, or form. Why is it, do you think, that people will still pound sand when, if you bring up the comment that if you were born in, say, Afghanistan, or if you're born in India is always an easy one, that the likelihood of you believing in white Jesus for us in America is white Jesus is highly unlikely. I mean,
thank you, white Jesus.
How do you? Yeah, every time I see like somebody in town post like a nativity scene, like, oh, white Jesus.
Hello, white Jesus.
Why is Obi-Wan Kenobi in the middle of the nativity scene?
Yeah, why is that? Why do people why can't people see past that? I guess is my question from your experience, other than the fact of what you've already talked about. Of course, being raised has something to do with that, I suppose. But
yeah, it's mostly confirmation bias. So the way confirmation bias works is that when you're presented with new information and you have some kind of a instilled dogma belief system, then you rationalize that to make it fit into your belief system so it doesn't challenge your belief. So if you get the idea that, well, if everyone over there is born into that religion and everyone over here is born in this religion, well, they must be evil. There must be something evil about that group of people. And they can't see that, well, no, they're just people like you and me. The difference is really the culture is what determines them, not their soul. They're not blameworthy because they don't believe in Jesus. It's just a trait of socialist culture. And they're like, no, because Jesus, it's got to be Jesus. Jesus is everything. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. And because they have that dogmatic belief that Jesus is so powerful a determining factor in their belief system, then they can't justify that really it's just the social culture, because they think social tendencies are significantly less powerful than Jesus is. So it can't be the social tendencies. It has to be the Jesus or the Satan answer.
Once again, why fish still gets fans.
So yeah, that would be the reason. It's confirmation bias. But I did want to bring up another point about, I have had that experience a number of times where I tell someone I'm atheist, and like, oh, you should talk to my guy, because my guy, he knows the Bible. You need to talk to the guy. And I've always found those.
I like me.
I found those conversations fascinating, especially because I'm usually a lot more qualified than them. So they start off by asking, well, so what do you think the Bible says? And I'm like, it's been a while since I've read it, but I think it says something about a zombie Jew who was his own father, who was raised from the dead to cure us from the sins that he caused because a magical rib woman was convinced by a talking snake to eat from a magical tree. Is that about right? That's the thing you believe?
It's the greatest story ever told.
Yeah. Fucking creative, man.
And then you go with it. So, and I remember this one story, like Jesus drowned babies, right? And they're like, wait a minute, what? Jesus didn't drown babies. What are you talking about? They're like,
there's your hashtag, yeah.
Exactly. They're like, well, Jesus is fully God, right? And God is fully Jesus, and God drowned babies in the global flood. And they're like, oh yeah, I guess Jesus did drown babies. Like, yep.
God drowned babies by 2,000 plus gods, coming out in 2021.
Got to say Jesus. Got to go with the Jesus. The Jesus drowned babies. That's the catcher.
Jesus drowned babies.
Yeah, it isn't. And first of all, and I mean, it's easy to be offended on this specific episode. We've actually, even though our show is called Simple Blasphemy, when Andy and I started this almost 3 years ago, even Andy was like, "Yeah, we should probably not go down the whole religious thing."
Oh,
and
yeah, every once in a while, it's great.
This is the first time that we've actually went down that rabbit hole. And for those that are maybe have a small feeling in their self that
and their goody woods,
yeah, that they should either murder us or pray for us.
Please
I suppose either. I think I can speak for at least the majority of us that we're in the position of we don't know, and it's sort of something. Well, do you believe in God? And I don't. I just don't have evidence for it. So I'm going to default in saying, well, is there a God? I don't know.
I always talk about him when I have sex, so I'm assuming that there's a certain part of it that.
Oh, you don't scream, "Oh, Bob Ross." So on just
you a Bob Ross fan? Love Bob Ross. He's great. Great painter. The afro is great.
So on the subject,
he grew that because he wanted to save money by not getting a haircut.
Yeah, that was like really pre-COVID outlook on that. Anyway, so if anybody starts feeling a little dirty listening to the specific episode, and we're saying there is no God or there isn't any strong evidence for it,
good. Don't clean the sin off your body.
It's fine. Just do your own research. It's super easy. Just read Genesis and then objectively, and then come back to us.
Feel the invisible touch.
Yeah. I usually go with send me a super chat and tell me how wrong I am.
Exactly, for $5. I find it. I mean, I'm personally not an activist. I think that I'd like to start doing more of that type of work, more so because of Anthony's whole thing with street epistemology. And in my area, we don't quite have that in Toledo, Ohio. However, what I've found, people that have this like hard to swallow, when you really question somebody's religious beliefs. You can go to somebody, say the Steelers suck or the Browns suck or any type of sports team, and they'll puff their chest. But the moment that they find out that
Your Jesus sucks.
your version of Jesus, your white Jesus, is no.
I prefer my Buddha.
Yeah, I mean, people really start getting weirded out. Are you of the thought of just giving people some really tough pills to swallow and think is from what I've known? This is way too long of a question. Or coming to the question, I apologize. But
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? What was
Exactly.
let me just rewind it for a minute.
Lordy.
Would you suggest that hard pills to swallow when you start talking to people in a nice way is just better than ignoring and lying to them, or is that what you're? The whole.
Do you feel that you're the arbiter of atheism?
Yes, I am the emperor atheist, but I don't think I would disagree that we should give people hard pills. Like, because of my personal experience with depression, I would say I would give up truth in a second for happiness. Like, screw truth, I don't give a damn. So I think that if people are happy and they're not really questioning their belief, as long as it doesn't cause any harm, let them be. I think that if it's in politics, we should definitely crush it at every opportunity we can, and we should just destroy any religious connotations in politics because it destroys.
Tax the fucking churches. Tax the fucking churches. Tax the fucking churches.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Especially Scientology.
Tax the fucking churches.
So I think when it does harm, like when it's in politics, then yeah, we need to smash them over the head with truth until they just give in and just die or whatever. But when it comes to personal people's beliefs, I just say, believe what you want. I don't care if it makes you happy, go for it. So I don't think that we should lambaste people in their personal lives if they're happy with their personal lives, because that's something that to cherish, something they should be happy with. If they can live their entire life with that belief and it makes them happy, then I'm happy for them. Like they have something valuable.
Yeah. I'm dabbling in writing a book about my journey through this thing. I had an uncle relative say to me, well, Zach, you just don't know what you're missing out on. And after that conversation, I started writing a book called What I'm Not Missing Out On. And I'm going to kind of start just reading through the Bible and kind of giving my take on it. And I try to take a more softer approach to things. But there's so many tough pills to swallow. I mean, a lot of people's families are super religious. At the moment you say atheist, they just have like the absolute different idea of what atheism is from what they think atheism is. So having said that, like, what is your version when someone says, what is an atheist? How would you describe it to them?
What is a juggalo?
Yes. Fan of the Clown Posse. That is correct. That is
Detroit.
Detroit.
It's pretty much what people think atheism is. You could just pretty much show pictures of both and they wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It's great.
Magnets. How do they work?
How the fuck?
What is it?
How the
Fanta?
fuck do
Fanta
they work?
or-
Fago.
Fago. That's the one.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
If you ever get a chance to try Red Pop, I highly recommend it.
It's actually really good. And it's like a 4-liter bottle.
Yep.
I think we have up in Detroit. Anyway, how would you describe atheism to somebody that asks what your version is?
Yeah, so I think I define atheism as the position that there is no evidence to believe in a God. Like, I make it a positive claim that all the evidence that the theists have is garbage, and therefore you shouldn't believe it for the same reason you shouldn't believe in Santa Claus, because there's no evidence it's actually real. There's the stronger position where they claim that God does not exist, but I usually shy away from that position, even though you can defend it philosophically by saying there's like contradictions in the God. It's
Christian
better
God.
to, certain kinds of gods have contradictions, the Abrahamic ones. But I usually define it by saying everything starts as imaginary and it stays as imaginary until you can provide evidence to demonstrate it's more. And so until you can provide evidence that your God isn't imaginary, well, then it's just imaginary. And we should all be atheists and admit it's just imaginary.
Okay.
But look around. Isn't God's grace among you and with you and assaulting you?
Yeah. If you could have one grace, what would it be? I'm like, what the fuck is a grace?
A 5'10" blonde one.
Oh, wow. 5'10" blonde
I
one.
would prefer that my
I've seen a-
penis hair stays the same color.
Lisa, bye, boo.
I've seen a lot of very handsome 5'10" blondes. That's a good choice.
Hey,
Bad joke.
there was and I forgot, somebody wrote a book, and I'm a horrible student. I don't remember shit, but I was listening to a podcast once, and there's this one guy that he liked to study death, liked to study religion and stuff, and he found a correlation between the brain and religion, that there is a part of our brain that is responsible for our religious beliefs. And I'm just paraphrasing this, that basically, like when it comes to beliefs and faith, that when studying it, there's a part of the brain that lights up. And this guy's hypothesis theory was that is a part of who we are, is because unlike most of the other living things that don't realize that they're going to come to an end, we do understand that there's going to come a time when we die and we cease to exist. And there's this part in our brain that actually gave us this, I don't know, penchant or something to believe in an afterlife or something like that. I mean, it kind of, God damn it, I never wrote it down. I should have wrote it down because I wanted to read that guy's book. But do you know anything about that or heard anything about that theory?
Yeah, there's actually 2 or 3 different versions. So there's one with the God helmet where you can literally stimulate a part of your brain and you get a sensation of some person, some higher being watching you. That was in a Richard Dawkins documentary, actually. And there's the what I mentioned earlier, where the prevalence in order to see agency behind everything, which because of the fear of death is absolutely a part of Evo psychology and why we believe there's a God and why we believe there's an afterlife. So definitely that is one of the largest consensuses in Evo psychology. That is definitely the reason we believe, is because some part of our brain told us that. It developed specifically to give us that sensation because it was beneficial in evolution.
Do you find it weird if somebody came up to you and said, hey, I know somebody that loves you and you've never met him before? Because see, like to me, that's just like, what?
I said it's creeped out.
It's definitely if you're not used to the Christian culture, it is very creepy to have that happen. Just imagine them going around in like a Hindu country and saying, "Hey, I know someone who loves you," and they would immediately be very creeped out for sure. But so, I actually find it funny now because then I get to start my Jesus drowned baby spiel, and so I look forward to it.
So, a few more questions because we're pretty much out of limit here, and definitely, Tom, thank you so much for this conversation today. A few more to go. I would say, off the top of your head, when you first heard that there was a Christian missionary that went to some tribe in Brazil or South America, and it turns out when he was trying to preach the gospel that he received an arrow through his body instead of, God's
holy light.
Yeah. When you hear stories like this of trying to bring some form of crazy religion to indigenous folks, and you hear the outcome, how does that make you feel as your position as an atheist, I suppose?
Well, it makes me feel that those people are insanely stupid because they just don't know much about biology, because people who live in pygmy tribes don't have any immune protection against diseases. And so if one person from a developed country goes there and transmits a disease, it could kill off their entire group. Like the entire population on that island could just be killed immediately, which is what happened in the Native Americans when we came here. We just killed them all with smallpox. And so
herpes.
The massive ignorance of the position who advocates for that and doesn't realize the consequences is pretty good evidence that position is not a one that has some kind of connection to the truth of the universe, for sure. And I don't think it's a coincidence that same group of people are the ones who deny that COVID is real and deny that we shouldn't take vaccines and have a higher prevalence of those kinds of diseases and lower intelligence. I think there's a pretty good reason there's a correlation between those, and a correlation between intelligence and atheism. Like the more educated people are, the more atheist they become across all cultures everywhere in the world. I think there's a reason for that correlation.
Yeah,
that explains a lot of people that live in my area.
Julio has a question here. Is occultism any different than the Abrahamic religions? Occultism is a pretty broad term, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Andy?
So, I mean, it depends.
What do you
like,
mean?
there's-
I'm not an occultist.
I know you're not, but you have some experience with knowledge of that, right?
Sacrificing things? Fuck no.
So
Well-
there's a bunch of different denominations of occultism, and there's a bunch of different denominations of religious sects, and there are some crossover. Like, for example, the Church of Satan could definitely be considered occultist in many ways, and certain Wiccan and other practices could definitely be considered Christian in many ways, and definitely used to be like that. They said burn witches because they thought that stuff was real, and many Christians did practice those things. And so there's definitely an overlap between the two, but I think the main difference is that occultism doesn't require any belief in a God, creator of the universe, whereas the Abrahamic religions kind of do.
See, it's for me, like when people, especially when I first started associating myself as an atheistic person, the whole Satanism thing came up, and I typically just went for like, well, Satanism has to be part of Christianity. You know that, right? And he's like, what are you talking about? Well, it's
Well,
a
one
character
can't be
in
the
it's
other,
like-
yeah.
It's a character in the book. What are you
It's
talking
Darth
about?
Vader, man.
Yeah, I mean, do you on that subject? Do you enjoy Is it the Church of Satan is doing all the work now for?
No, that's the Satanic Temple. The Satanic Temple
I'm sorry.
is the ones that are all
Wisdom.
atheists and just do humanism stuff. The Church of
Love it.
Satan actually worships Satan. I'm pretty sure that's the group, even though they sound so similar, like the Satanic Temple and the Church of Satan. One of them is all atheists who are just mocking Christianity, and one of them actually worships Satan. So it's hard to keep that straight a lot of times. And if you're actually talking to people from the Satanic Temple and you mislabel them, they get very angry at you. Because I know a few of them. I know people who are actually members of that church temple.
So a part of a few things wrap this up. A part of somebody's growing popularity is that all of a sudden you're starting to get memes of you. We have the couch is becoming a staple, of your people kind of, I'm assuming create these things for you. It's your bench of choice to ponder and think. The real question is there a certain point where this couch literally could be replaced with something different? Or are you going to try to
Take good
probably
pictures
not.
of it and green screen it.
Probably not, because I've tried a bunch of different chairs. This is the most comfortable chair I found. I don't think I could find anything better. So it's a hard idea to replace it. Like even if I became president, I would just bring the chair into the Oval Office and just throw out the presidential chair because it's
Yes.
garbage compared to this chair.
Anything's possible these days.
hey, and you literally wouldn't mind being in charge of the free world as well, right?
Definitely. I one of my goals, I would love to be president and try and solve all of the problems in politics right now.
Give your elevator platform.
Awesome.
Yeah, what's
Elevator
your
platform, pay cap for CEOs and shareholders based on the number of employees they have, get rid of the minimum wage, eliminate omnibus bills, reinstitute the line item veto, revamp education,
term limits?
term limits, definitely
Please.
term limits for everyone, including the Supreme Court. 'Cause
Oh,
they're
please.
awful. Get rid of this, implement the single transferable vote, get rid of the first past the post system we have, which is garbage, tax churches, lots and lots of things.
You already got my vote. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I'm going to stop. Green?
Hey, yeah, I just want to end with one thing. I listen to Christian radio on the way home from work every day. And the local guy is Bob Dukos, and he's a really good debater. And the story he tells, the reason he came to religion and early on is because he was faced with, well, if this is true and I continue on with my lifestyle, I'm going to burn in never ending hell. So I might as well just spend this very short life and follow God and praise him, because if it is true, I win. I don't want to gamble. And the way and the guy is a great debater. I will never even be able to stand up next to him, even though I think he's wrong on a lot of fronts. But the big difference between him and I is that he came to his faith because he was scared of burning in hell for, this hell forever.
Classic.
And like with
Classic
me,
hell.
I just want to be a good person. And I don't care at the end of life if I'm rewarded or if I'm punished. I just want to be a good person just for the fact of being a good person. I don't give a fuck about being rewarded or punished. I want to stay true to myself. And like my old neighbor from when I grew up in Detroit taught me, is what it means to be a good human being and be nice to each other. That's what I want to follow. And I don't care if it goes against your religion or this or that. I don't care if I'm rewarded or punished. That's just what I want to do. I just want to be the best good person that I possibly can. But like this guy that knows the ins and outs and is so holy and stuff like that came to it because he was afraid of burning in hell. And to me, you're being fake. You're a fake motherfucker because you're being scared into this position to where me is just like, this is just what I want to gravitate to. I don't care if I'm rewarded or punished.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's Pascal's wager, the idea that, well, if you worship God, you get infinite reward, and if you don't, you get infinite punishment. But the problem is that you could still get infinite reward as an atheist, and you could still get infinitely punished just by being a bad person. Like, we don't know what the afterlife is like. Like Andy mentioned, there could be an afterlife. Like, we could be in the Matrix. So if we're terrible people here, we could get punished when we wake up. That's definitely a possibility. So you should be a good person because it's the right thing to do, not because of some God holding a big stick saying he's going to beat you if you don't. And more importantly, if the only reason you're a good person is because God says so, well, then what are you going to do if God tells you to kill somebody?
Like that one story when he's like, kill your only son. Yep. And then at the last minute, oh, wait, I just wanted to see if you were going to do it.
Just kidding.
Man, I was totally trolling you. Come on.
Yeah. Funny story. That actually happened twice in the Bible. And the second time it was a daughter. And so he decided not to stop him and just said, yeah, go ahead, burn your daughter.
Where's that at?
It's the King Jatebeth or something like that. And he was praying to God to help him win a battle. And he said, if you help me win this battle, I will sacrifice the first thing that comes through my door when I get home, which was his daughter. And so he burned her alive.
What is he trying to kill his cat or something? You're going for your cat, your wife?
And to be fair, the whole book of Job, for the most part, would, for those that like that kind of thing. All right, we have to wrap this up. TJump, thank you so much for coming on.
It was a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, of course, and you kind of satisfied at least my fanboy needs. Tom, you can find him on his own YouTube channel, which is listed below at youtube.com/TJump. Gentlemen like him and others also have a Patreon similar to us, but he's a little more... Our bills are made, but Tom has a Patreon that's going to allow him to fly and do debates in other places. And
spread the word.
Tom's Patreon is actually really doing the Lord's work, right? And for us,
you're just paying for beer and hookers.
And for us,
and poop and fart jokes.
Poop and fart jokes. Yeah.
Occasionally we have a serious time, or we have somebody that people give
seriously,
a shit about.
Tom, thanks for coming on this show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, I appreciate the invite. I appreciate being here. And what was the guy's name you mentioned on the radio? Bob Duco.
Bob Ducos.
I'll check him out. See if I can get him on my show. It'd be fun.
Exactly.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Duco Scali.
Because he's a really good debater and he knows a lot of science. And like when I listen to him, I'm just like, oh my God, how can I counteract this? And but even though I know you're wrong, it's just flawed thinking, but you got the facts. So if you can get him on, I don't know how you spell it, but it's Bob Ducos in Michigan, Toledo area.
All right, child, check it out.
So lastly, follow Tom's YouTube channel. Please consider subscribing to his Patreon or becoming a Patreon. And I don't know, just do it. If you're an audio listener, I'll have links in the descriptions on Wednesday afternoon and stuff like that. I'll put more links and stuff to that and chapters. Other than that, that's the end of our show, folks. We will see you next week with that time of the month with Amanda. So we will see you soon. Peace.
Good night.